Welcome to Boosting You, the ultimate wellness platform, and I'm Shirley McLean.
And I'm Dr. Sue Peacock. So, just carrying on from our last conversation, we did that mind decluttering exercise, didn't we, after talking about that inner chatter. And I think that's such an important topic, isn't it? Mental clutter, all those thoughts and worries that create that constant background noise in our consciousness, that we should perhaps have a boost about that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, because it's interesting, isn't it, how that mental clutter functions almost like physical clutter, really, taking up that space, creating distraction and just draining our energy, that could be used, we could be directing that elsewhere, where focus goes, energy flows.
Absolutely. And just as that sort of cluttered physical space makes it difficult to find what we need, a cluttered mind makes it challenging, doesn't it, to access clarity and intuition.
Yeah, and what I find fascinating is how that mind just naturally begins to settle when we simply give it permission to do so. We talked last time about acknowledging and understanding that inner chatter, choosing what to do with it and changing it. However, when we create even small pockets of silence throughout the day, allowing that mental, whatever is going on, to gradually sink to the bottom.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it's helpful to sort of imagine thoughts as leaves, just sort of floating on a stream, not trying to stop that flow, but just simply observing the moment without becoming attached to any particular leaf.
Absolutely. And when we practice this gentle observation, it allows you to begin to notice the spaces between thoughts, spaces that were always there, but perhaps went unnoticed. And what's particularly powerful as well is to distinguish between productive thinking and that rumination that fires and wires a whole loop, to actually recognize when your mind is actually solving a problem or if it's simply just, rehashing all of them old worries.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I think it's quite a good question to sort of ask yourself, is this thought serving me right now? And if not, just gently let it go, just returning your attention to the present moment.
Yeah, and that's why the external dumping practicing that we did last time can be really helpful. Getting thoughts out of the mind and onto that paper through structured brain dumps or just worry lists.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think there's something almost kind of magical, isn't there, about externalizing that mental content, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's kind of the act of writing it down gives the mind permission to let go.
Yeah. And also what about those digital distractions, that fragment attention and create, what you psychologists call that popcorn brain, and that's the metaphor used for a brain that easily gets distracted and struggles to maintain focus on a single task or thought. I mean, digital distractions are everywhere, spending hours of screen time.
Oh, yeah, it's such an important point that, isn't it? Because it does lead to difficulty concentrating, those shortened attention spans, impulsivity, scattered thoughts, rapid switching between topics. So it's really important to create those intentional boundaries around technology. So it's not just about limiting screen time, but being strategic perhaps about when you use it and how you engage in activities with information screen streams. Um, Perhaps practice mindfulness or engage in activities that promote focus and concentration, or those deep breathing exercises. You know, read books. Spot that creativity. Listen to music. Spend time in nature.
Yeah, and I believe one of the most transformative practice is understanding our own internal guidance system. We have one that's unique to us, and to recognize and honor that, our own cognitive rhythms, if you like, understanding when our mind is naturally sharp and clear versus when it needs a rest.
Yeah, and as we align our activities with those natural rhythms, often we can discover that sense of sort of ease and flow.
Yeah. And I think for our action step, we can upgrade our mind decluttering ritual to be particularly effective by that time that we just set aside in the morning or whenever it is good for you, whenever you choose to do our brain dump, writing down every thought, every worry, and then you know, to do it without filtering or organizing, and then maybe put into three categories: actions today and schedule for later, or release entirely, because sometimes, you know, we don't even need to even think about it. And finally, just take a few minutes to simply breathe and just to notice the increased mental space that you've created.
Yeah, and as we sort of practice this ritual sort of day after day, we start to begin to develop that new relationship, don't we, with our thoughts, seeing them as sort of temporary visitors rather than permanent residents, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, and not forgetting to smile as you do it.
So just to recap then, it's about establishing that, 5 to 10 minute morning ritual or whenever you choose to clear that mental space. Have your little brain dump, write down every thought or worry and to-do list without filtering. And then when you've done that, it's about sorting and processing, isn't it? It's about categorizing each item as actionable today, schedule for later, or release entirely. That's just cross them off and tear it out that bit. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the third thing is that mental space, isn't it? It's about breathing deeply and noticing that increased sense of mental clarity. So just enjoy it and let us know how you get on. So I think that's a good place to end. And so it's bye from me.
And it's bye from me.